In the year 1914, Robert Frost published one of his poems called Mending Wall. In the poem, there are two characters, Frost and his neighbor, who are discussing while repairing the wall that distinguishes each of their land. There are two times when the neighbor answers the questions asked by Frost and says, "Good fences make good neighbors." What does it really mean? Only Frost knows. But there is much more to understand here. How does a neighbor decide if the fence is a good enough boundary? Or better still, how do two people agree upon that particular border? This applies not only to our individual identities but our nations as well. Since the dawn of governmentation in the 17th century, many large lands turned themselves into a collective identity called a country. The borders formed in this instance is what caused the creation of national identity. As house fences are what distinguishes our personal identity, national borders are what distinguishes a country and its neighboring countries. Here the word fence is synonymous with the word border. But how do you declare that a good fence will always be provided and on each side of it good identities would be existing? To answer this particular question, psychologist Dr. Volker Patent says that a social, scientific, and historic perspective views borders as created rather than as natural or preordained. They are the result of the projection of power by hegemonic political entities but have a ubiquitous effect on life within their reach. Well, in the 17th century, after the emergence of government, the political systems had to come up with a mutual understanding between the nations neighboring them. In such understanding, cultural and geopolitical factors like language, culture itself, ethnicity, and population were considered. Of course, such kind of understanding helped so many political and trade relationships between countries like Russia, India, Japan, and USA. Now, if good fences make good neighbors, the opposite can also be said that bad fences make bad ones. That particular statement also holds true considering the fact that poorly defined borders caused by absence of mutual understanding always leads to conflict, and conflict breeds potential violence. Take last week for example, when India announced Jammu and Kashmir, a region for which India and Pakistan have been fighting for almost 3/4 of a century as being a union territory. Still, a mutual understanding has not been observed, creating a tension of conflict. This is also the case for North and South Korea. Whether it is right or not, North Korea believes it has claim to the lands that the political maps do not represent. Hence, without mutual understanding, its absence always leads to conflict. Written in 1914, this particular line still holds relevance in these uncertain times. We all have neighbors. We all know that fences eventually need repairing. Borders, individual or not, metaphorical or literal, keep people apart. They deny their right to passage and yet provide security. We being an international community, maybe we need to cultivate a worldview of mutual agreement and understanding, because there is much more, so much more that unites us than what divides us.